The affordable hatchback segment in India is really quite incredible. Not only does it account for huge volumes, it also accounts now for a lot of excitement. It all started with Renault Squid, a small, affordable budget hatchback, but that gave you the flavor of an SUV. And that got a lot of attention, and now we have this, Maruti Suzuki's Ignis. This is also a hatchback, but it has a little bit of that rugged flavor. There's a lot more that's interesting about the Ignis other than just its design. For instance, it has petrol and diesel engines, manual gearboxes, and automatic gearboxes as well. This will be the most affordable automatic diesel on sale in the market as of now. And there's a lot that we have got to know about the Ignis, so let's jump right in. It's quite clear the little Ignis has attitude, and lots of it. Thanks to the upright face and flattish hood, it looks square and chunky. The single frame grille adds to the distinctive look as it envelopes the headlamps. However, it is only the top-end Alpha variant that gets LED DRLs and LED projector lamps. The geometric shape for the air dams increases the sense of tallness and adds to the quirkiness of the design. The rubberized strip on the side of the bonnet is a throwback to the very first Vitara. Then let your gaze sweep down the side, and the Ignis's floating roof and blacked out A and B pillars makes a very direct connect to the Swift. The kinked window line kicks up sharply at the rear door and makes the Ignis distinctive from this angle as well. For the tough quotient, there are flared wheel arches with 15-inch black alloy wheels stuffed into them. The light cladding for the wheel arches and the side sills gives it a more rugged look. As you move towards the rear, the Ignis's design takes some getting used to. The C-pillar, despite the three shark-like gills stamped into it, looks quite bulky. And the boot seems a bit too high. The tail lamp design also looks a bit dated. However, the blacked out section on the rear bumper offers solid functionality, as minor fender benders won't give you a heartache. Nonetheless, when viewed from the rear, the Ignis looks quite awkward. In terms of size, the Ignis isn't very big. A Mahindra KUV 100 is taller, but at 3700mm, the Ignis is longer, and it also packs a 24-35mm wheelbase. That is longer than the KUV, and it's longer than the current gen Swift. This promises good space on the inside. The 260-litre boot space is healthy, and thanks to the split and folding rear seats, you could pack in more luggage when needed. Now you can see that the door opens really nice and wide, almost out at 90 degrees, and that's handy because getting in you'll have to just drop down a bit. And once you're in here, you realize that there is a good amount of room on offer. The driver's seat is set to my driving position, and look at the amount of knee room on offer. That aside, you have a good amount of headroom as well. So taller passengers can sit in the back with a good amount of comfort, but sitting three abreast for longer journeys will be, well, not all that comfortable. Also, the seat cushioning was a bit too soft for my liking, and the bottle holder on the door pad was a bit too narrow for 1-litre bottles. And when you step into the front, the driver's seat you'll find gets seat height adjustment, but this is only available on the very top-end variant. Now, to make this feel young and fresh, Maruti Suzuki has gone for quite a new kind of design. It looks minimalistic. It feels modular. I mean, you look at the dash, it's very tightly packaged, has a nice flat top. There's just this floating cover for the instrument cluster here. And in terms of modularity, you can see how this infotainment system just sits like it's been slapped on top of the dashboard. And then you have this air conditioning system here which juts out here in the center. And there's really no center console here, so to speak of.
which is why even though the touchscreen is offset, it doesn't feel all that jarring because you have this down here all by itself, the air conditioning system. Very nice touches here. For instance, there are these rock up and down controls for the aircon system and toggle like switches here as well, so it feels very nice because of that. And then you have a all new steering wheel which gives it a greater sense of premiumness. And in terms of features, this top end model of course gets Apple CarPlay, Android Auto and a reversing camera as well.
The reversing camera displays guidelines to make reversing easier. And the stylish new steering wheel has well-damped controls for audio and telephony. You can also access the trip computer from here. The aircon system is a cool design, but the lower variants make do with a simple manual aircon. Even the infotainment screen on the lower variants is a simple LED display, but it comes equipped with Bluetooth, USB and aux connectivity. In terms of design, the floating shade for the instrument cluster is a nice touch. While overall build quality feels solid, the plastics are of the tougher variety, and this seems obvious on the lighter colored panels on the inside.
Now, Maruti Suzuki has tried to make the interiors funky and cool, and to that effect, they have done quite a bit on the interiors, and some of the things just seem a little too much at times. For instance, the aircon vents here, rectangular, look classic, and the ones on the outside are circular and wrapped in carbon fiber trim. So yeah, that aside, there's the dashboard which comes in dual tone colors for the higher end variants, but the lighter color is white, and in our conditions that's likely to get dirty pretty quick, especially the ones on the door pads. These are all the points that you touch, so they're likely to get dirty that much quicker. Then there are the color coded parts like the side panels for this floor console, and you have the Suzuki triad lines which look nice, but then there are the grab handles on the door pads which don't feel all that premium. So yes, there's a lot happening inside, but not all of it comes together all that well.
What also deserves to be mentioned here is the safety factor. The Ignis comes equipped with driver and passenger airbags, ABS and EBD as standard. The new platform has also been engineered keeping upcoming crash test norms in mind, and there are ISOFIX seat mounts for children's seats as well, which will bring a lot of peace of mind when you hit the road. When we hit the road, we first sampled the diesel. This 1.3-litre turbo diesel state of tune is closely related to the Baleno. It makes 75 PS of power and 190 Nm of torque.
Now the diesel engine, it's a familiar one, it's tried and tested, but just let's run through what it feels like to drive with this manual transmission. From 1500 RPM, you have enough response on offer from the engine that even light dabs of throttle will be enough to keep pace with city traffic or to make a move on the highway. But if you're looking for more urgent progress, you will have to wait for the revs to climb above 2000 RPM, and that's when you can feel a step up in the pace.
The engine revs to about 5200 RPM and it makes good progress getting there, but it does get a bit loud at higher RPMs. On the whole, it is a strong performer, but the question is just how good is it to drive with the AMT automatic transmission?
So what makes this transmission impressive now is, firstly, its smoothness. A lot of the times you can't make out when the gear changes are happening, and that used to be an issue earlier because typically when the gear changes would happen, you'd get that head nod. When the torque is interrupted, you'd go forward, gears engaged, you get pushed back in your seat. Here it feels really quite smooth. Very often you just have to look down at the instrument cluster to make out whether the gear change has happened or not. And this is applicable for upshifts and downshifts and feels especially smooth when you're driving around in city traffic. You still do get a head nod every now and then. That's typically when you're driving hard and fast or when you push down for a sudden change in pace. There is a manual mode as well, but I think mostly you'd want to use that when you really want to take it easy, because as is, the gearbox is still pretty eager to shift down, and typically in city traffic you'll find that when you move off the gas to make your way down into a corner and then when you go back on the gas, the gearbox has actually shifted down, so when you put your foot down you get the responses that you're looking for. There is one thing that takes some getting used to, and that's Every now and then when you lift off the gas, you expect the engine to not accelerate as much, but because the turbo is spooled up, it still pulls ahead. But very quickly you learn how that works and can predict and work around it.
Then there is the Petrol. The 1.2-litre 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine develops 83 PS of power and 113 Nm of torque.
Now the Petrol, it's also a familiar engine and it is a peppy performer. Now the good thing about this engine is that it gives you a good amount of torque at low RPMs. Between 1 and 2000 RPM, you'll be happy to amble along, so you can move up gears and just take it easy in the city. This engine also loves to rev, so when you're in the mood for some fun, you can give it some stick, and when you push it, you'll hear it inside the cabin, but it does sound a little sporty.
So the key question is, how does it feel like to drive with the AMT?
As we saw with the diesel AMT, the petrol version is also very friendly to use, smooth, quick, makes the best of the engine, which is to say that it shifts up early when you're driving calmly and makes use of the torque available at low RPMs, low to mid-range. And then when you put your foot down, you'll find that it's happy to let the engine rev up and give you that zippy feel that you're looking for.
There is a sense of sophistication in the way the Ignis drives, and that this can also be sampled in the way the suspension works.
Now Maruti Suzuki usually manages to strike a pretty good balance between ride and handling, and that seems to be the case here with the Ignis as well. There's a nice softness to the ride, and you can feel that working at city speeds, because when you're going over potholes and over manhole covers, you find that there's far less harshness creeping into the cabin than you would have expected.
Not only is it comfortable and well damped, the suspension is also very quiet. So the Ignis is comfortable to ride around in, and it is a pointy car to steer, but it won't quite hit the spot with the enthusiasts.
Now the steering isn't particularly communicative, and really we haven't been able to corner it here on these roads, but at triple-digit speeds we found that the Ignis feels quite calm and confident.
Maruti Suzuki claims a fuel efficiency of 20.89 km per litre for the petrol and 26.8 km per litre for the diesel. Prices start from 4.59 lakh rupees for the base Sigma variant, which is only available in petrol, and it goes all the way up to 7.8 lakh rupees for the top-end Alpha variant of the diesel. A disappointment for many potential buyers is likely to be that the automatic transmission isn't available on the top-end variant, which means you can have convenience, but you can't have all the cool and handy features that the Ignis packs today.
So let's get things straight. The Ignis, it is a hatchback, and yes, it has a few shortcomings. It's been very cleverly designed to look robust, but its head-turning looks can also be a bit polarizing, and when you look at it from the rear, it does tend to look a bit awkward. On the inside, Maruti has done much to make it look funky, but along with that, it could do with a bit more finesse as well. Nonetheless, this is a spacious hatchback and really well equipped as well. Along with that, it feels sophisticated in the way it rides and drives. With the option of well-engineered automatic transmissions, this Ignis's appeal just widens even further. Yes, you could argue that it is a little bit expensive for this class of hatch, but remember, it comes with ABS, EBD, dual airbags as standard, and safety features built into the chassis for upcoming norms. So all in all, the Ignis packs attitude and appeal and is a sensible hatch as well.